Yet another murder of a Tennessean at the hands of illegal aliens, this time in Cleveland, Tennessee. When will GOP leadership finally stop killing the reform bills that could prevent this? Memphis, gay pride groups responsible for Drag Queen Storytime Hour financially supports illegal aliens. Tennessee State Primary Board votes to reject John Reagan's primary challenge. Raided Tennessee Police Department investigating multi-level corruption prompts stunning disclosure from Assistant Chief. Franklin man cited for displaying too many American flags. Former Tennessee teacher coach sentenced for recording girls in locker room. And Blount County PE teacher who pled guilty to offensive assaults against children has a misconduct record going back 20 years. And finally, Ethics Commission dismisses complaint against Tennessee Education Commissioner. Brandon Lewis here. We have got some very interesting stories that the mainstream media hopes you never hear about. But here at the Big Seven, through the Tennessee Conservative News, our state's largest conservative news alternative, you can get the news you won't get anywhere else. Before we get into these stories, please do go to Gab, Getter, Truth, MeWe, Rumble. We have a podcast. Anywhere you want your conservative news in Tennessee, buddy, we are there. Update on our Capitol Correspondent campaign. Many of you may have seen a video and an email from me. We are trying our best to become a quote-unquote real publication. We are referenced very often in publications across the state because we are effective. If we weren't effective, they'd never mention us. You don't get flack if you're not above the target. But we have never had the financial wherewithal to send a correspondent to Nashville the way that the corporately funded left-leaning media can, because they are awash in those dollars, whereas we are 100% grassroots supported. I think it's going to cost around $20,000 probably to do it right, to equip somebody with everything that they need. We're still trying to figure out if we're going to have lodging or not. But an email alone that went out to those of you who actually care about conservative journalism in Tennessee raised $2,750. Okay, I'll take it. That gets us a little bit over 10% of our way toward the goal. More on that later as we put together budgets. We're still in the early planning phases of this, but if you believe that that's something we need, please do go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com/support. And let's get into the mailbag. I've been a little remiss. I got this note here. It says, great job on the Hazelwood exposure, Karen. Karen, well, I appreciate you. Mail my free stuff to, so on and so forth. Thanks for keeping reporting the truth. God bless. What else we got here? Brandon, keep up the great work. Enjoyed the Rhino Report as well as the pre- and post-election analysis from Diane in Oak Ridge. Thank you very much. Guys, do mail your checks, do mail your words of encouragement, do mail your anything to me at P.O. Box 625, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377. That is P.O. Box 625, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377. Let's move on to the first story. This one burns me up. We have probably been the most vocal, outspoken. No, we have been, I can say, without exception, the most vocal and outspoken organization, and perhaps me the most vocal and outspoken person in the state of Tennessee about stopping illegal immigration at the state level. And the history, if you want to really get the history of this and really have a deep understanding of what's happened in our state on this issue, search online for Tennessee Illegal Immigration Timeline. Just any search engine. Tennessee Illegal Immigration Timeline, and our article will pop up because we're the only outlet that actually will tell you the truth about the ravages and the expense and the danger of illegal aliens and the invasion that's going on unchecked in Tennessee because Bill Lee, Cameron Sexton, Randy McNally, and all of Republican leadership refuses to do anything. And in fact, every time there was a bill that would stop the mass transportation, welfare benefits, job magnets, taxpayer-funded crap of all variety, boy, they kill the bills in committee. Because the Tennessee GOP, as far as I can tell, practically speaking, has just about the same, record on illegal immigration. The Democrats haven't done anything to stop it, and the Republicans haven't done anything to stop it. Let's get into it. An illegal alien is now in custody for the recent murder of a 25-year-old woman whose body was discovered after she was reported missing. Here's the question. How many Tennesseans have to die, Cameron Sexton? How many Tennesseans have to die, Randy McNally? How many Tennesseans have to die, Bill Lee, before we all quit protecting the Chamber of Commerce, the NFIB, and all the other corporate interests that continually and constantly talk in your ear and fund your campaigns to stop this stuff? Guys, send messages. Send messages to these people via email. Call up there and say, hey, what the hell is going on? And why do y'all continue to not only fail to do anything about it, but when the handful of conservatives we have in the General Assembly bring a bill, you won't do anything about it? The body of the 25-year-old Diana Garcia was found in the home on North Crest Circle in Cleveland. Cleveland's a nice town, a sleepy town. And this is what's happening in our cities all across the state of Tennessee. Assaults, murder, theft. Mainstream media won't report this stuff. They don't even look at the immigration status of people when it's apparent that they probably have an illegal immigration status that is not a citizen. Cleveland police requested the help of outside agencies after it was determined the suspect, 41-year-old Darren Lopez Roque, if that's how you pronounce the name, had already left the state. Darren, he was stopped, arrested, and booked in the Zavala County Jail in Texas. He is an illegal alien for Cuba who entered the U.S. through California in 2023 and has been picked up by police in February for a domestic violence complaint but was not convicted of that charge. First, we got an illegal alien beating on women, and then we have him kill one. Closed-circuit transmission to Republican leadership. Grow a pair. The thing that makes it even worse about this, and their complete and utter disregard to do anything about this and to kill every bill that's ever been brought in committee that would actually deter illegal immigration in the state, is this. When you poll Republican primary voters, the number one issue, and it goes back and forth, is between illegal immigration and the economy. And when you've got leadership so politically tone deaf and so corporately purchased that they will not do anything to address the number one issue of GOP primary voters, that tells you we need new leadership desperately. Desperately. Because of that lack of conviction, no immigration detainer was filed. If it was, I don't know if it'd make any difference. His immigration court hearing was scheduled for November in Memphis, and I'm sure somebody who's a murderer will duly show up for their appointed court date. Marshall Blackburn says he managed to get in the U.S. by using the Biden-Harris administration CBP One app. It's a disgrace. Next story, Memphis gay pride group responsible for drag queen story time at public library financially supports illegal aliens. Out Memphis, a nonprofit that hosts a variety of support groups and services for gay and trans youth. There's no such thing as a trans youth. Provides financial support for gay adults who are the most disenfranchised from social services and community support. This includes trans people of color. An illegal alien who identifies as gay or trans may apply every month for help towards rent, utilities, groceries, or travel expenses. I'm surprised that the Republican leadership isn't putting a program like this in place. We already have folks like Todd Gardenhire advocating for free college tuition for illegal immigrants. I mean, I don't know. Let's just come on. Let's get on the bandwagon. Maybe we could, big tent, right? On the application form, if identifying as undocumented, the definition for the undocumentation reads, undocumented means you're a person who entered the U.S. without inspection and proper permission from the government, or who has entered with a legal visa that is no longer valid, etc. If approved, a person in the country illegally could receive up to $500 toward rent or utilities once a quarter. A $100 Kroger gift card or up to $50 for travel expenses. An audited financial statement from 2021 lists government grants of $103,000 to Out Memphis, a local government grant. So we got the local government, which I assume is Memphis, giving money to this organization, who then creates even a stronger magnet for illegal aliens in Tennessee. Out Memphis. The group also has agreement to the county, state, and federal levels to receive federal grant money in exchange for providing services. Not only are we failing to enforce the laws, not only once they get to Tennessee does the GOP leadership fail to do anything legislatively, and in fact fights against any legislation that would stop illegal immigration in our state, we're rewarding it. Isn't that fantastic? Next story. Tennessee State Primary Board votes to reject John Reagan's primary challenge. How many Democrats voting in a Republican primary do you have to have before anything happens? By a vote of 41-7, the State Primary Board, this is your SEC, upheld the primary election for District 33, Rick Scarborough, who will be the Republican nominee for the upcoming general election. The meeting, September 7th, lasted about 90 minutes. After introductory remarks, Reagan made his plea to set aside the results because of illegal crossover voting by Democrats. He compared crossover voters to political identity thieves. I agree. At his turn, Rick argued that it was his campaign, not crossover voters, that earned him the votes necessary to win the election. Scarborough's attorney argued that the number of crossover votes were insufficient to change the outcome of the election. I had my little notes here. Maybe if I get into Brandon's list of notes over here just for a second, if you'll bear with me, I'm going to tell you who these Republicans are that freaking continually and constantly vote for this crap and who kill the legislation to close the primaries. We've been following this issue for a long time now, and it is crazy. And you know what I put these files under on my report? These things so I can always know. Rhino research, R-I-N-O research. Let's go here to closing the GOP primaries. Recent rhinos who voted to leave GOP primaries open in one way or the other. Here they are. Gary Hicks, John Crawford, probably the two worst in the House. Dale Carr, John Hotzclaw, Esther Haynes Helton, David Wright, William Slater in the Senate. You got Richard Briggs, John Stevens, Paige Wally, and Ed Jackson. So if any of those people are your representatives, send them an email and say, hey, why are you against closing the primaries? Why do you have this bad voting record on closing the primaries? Why do you want Democrats choosing the Republican nominee? Ask them. You'll get some very interesting replies. Back to the story. Reagan had 2 minutes to rebut and emphasize the analysis of primary voting records showing that more than 1,000 voters had not demonstrated commitment to the Republican Party by voting in more than one of the last 4 Republican primaries. We've got this huge issue where the SEC picks and chooses what it wants to apply in the bylaws. If there's a Democrat rhino that wants to run, like they'll usually vouch for him. If there's a conservative who has expressed displeasure with Republican leadership, not taking any action on issues or having bad voting records, well, then if you don't meet the bona fide status, they won't let you in. All they have to do is clean this up, make it a simple, you could probably take it in half a page and fix this stuff. And I'm telling you, the SEC, what they should do is start freaking flexing their muscles because they're the ones that pick the nominee. This whole stuff about we can't do this and election law, that, bull. Bull, bull, bull. If they got together and voted because they didn't like somebody's haircut, that they weren't going to be the nominee, then they just wouldn't. Because the government does not determine the Republican nominee. It is a private organization that determines that. As we saw clearly with Kamala Harris. She didn't get a single solitary primary vote at all. None. And what did the Democrats do? They kicked Joe Biden out of office of being the nominee. And yet our party says, "Oh, it's Tennessee State Code." So here's the party really showing you what they can do, and that is every state. You think one of the states would have complained and said, "Oh no, you hadn't got the votes." Not a single solitary state, and here we are in the same situation. And they act like whatever's in the code is what they have to do, and in fact, that's not the case at all. Members of the primary board expressed frustration with the General Assembly in failing to close the primaries. In fact, I think it was Stanberry who said you should direct all the ire to the General Assembly, and I agree. But if the General Assembly won't act to close the primaries, then the party needs to do something on their side that does, and just let the freaking mess come up. If it turns into a big enough, ugly enough mess, they'll close the primaries. You just got to create a bunch of chaos and let them deal with the fallout, and they'll close the primaries. Next story. The story is this. We need money, guys. We need money to keep the lights on, to keep growing. We're running in a subscriber acquisition campaign right now because we do have a little bit of extra money in the bank, trying to reach more conservatives like you in the state of Tennessee. So if you can help us reach more conservatives, if you can help us send a correspondent to Nashville, we would welcome it. We would welcome it. Do go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com/support. If you get $50 or more, we will send you a proud Tennessee Conservative tumbler. I do not have it here beside me, although I should have. Bumper stickers and a koozie. Or if you give a $10 recurring donation or more, we will send you the same. And, you know, people often say, they'll send me emails, why don't you, and why don't we, and somebody should. I'm like, yeah, that should be you. Have at it. Oh, well, that's not what Why aren't there more conservative media outlets, Brandon? Because right now our subscriber giving is at 6%, which means of all the people we reach all across the state, only 6% of conservatives, after much prodding and poking from me for 4 years, like 94%, 93% are like, somebody else, somebody else. If you're in the somebody else crowd, don't be in that crowd. That's the worst crowd to be in. Get out with your wallet and your time and make a difference. Make a difference. Consuming conservative media for the sake of consuming conservative media is pointless. Pointless. You might as well go outside and watch the grass grow. It'd be more pleasant, you'd be less stressed, and you'd have the same impact as you do now. So guys, get in the game. Mail your checks to P.O. Box 625, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377. That's P.O. Box 625, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377. Or go to Tennessee Conservative News, .com/support, or hit that support button. Next story. Now, a lot of people have sent this to me and asked me to dig into it, but as I look around, there's not enough information for me to know what the heck's going on here. But I'll read it to you. Raided Tennessee Police Department investigating multi-level corruption prompts stunning disclosure from Assistant Chief. Following last week's raid of the Millersville Police Department and a separate raid on Assistant Chief Sean Taylor's White House home. So the TBI is going into an Assistant Chief's home. The Millersville Assistant Chief of Police publicly exposed what he claims is a crime syndicate of an international nature operating within the U.S. Taylor says that the TBI targeted the police department for uncovering crimes involving high-profile individuals. These crimes include mortgage fraud and the trafficking of both humans and narcotics. Used to, I wouldn't believe these far-flung ideas. But when you look at the media, I mean, every common sense thing that is said, the media calls a conspiracy theory, or they either name call or whatever, just crazy crap. Crazy crap. Well, the masks don't really work. Well, they didn't. Well, the vaccines don't stop transmission. Well, they didn't. Well, the lockdowns don't really work. Well, they don't. But you get pilloried for that stuff, right? And further, there are more than two sexes. There are people. There are people that are born something other than a man or a woman. And if you just say that you are a man, if you are a woman, then therefore you are. I cannot trust news reporting from people that, once you separate yourself from reality to that point, I just can't trust your reporting. And when I look at what's going on with President Trump and the lawfare and what has not happened with people like Epstein, the more I'm like, well, this person may be crazy, but I'm more prone to believe them than the media. Going far beyond corruption at the local level, Taylor stated that the cases are linked to national and global networks and involve large corporations and even foreign governments. Calling it a, quote, multifaceted attack from a foreign adversary, Taylor said the transnational corruption involves BRICS nations, including China, and is tied to election integrity. The BRICS group, while not a formal organization like the United Nations, is a bloc founded by Russia, providing them a platform for its member nations to challenge the U.S. and Western allies. Founding members, along with Russia, are Brazil, India, and China. I don't know about all this stuff. This is stuff I don't keep up with. I can't, right? As soon as I start hearing things about things that I can't personally have any impact on whatsoever, or I don't feel like I really can, I kind of glaze over. Because I just want to do stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Look at that. I helped with that. Look at that. That crappy bill got killed. Okay, look, we passed a decent bill here. We got rid of this person. This person came in. I'm like, okay, we're informing people They're making informed decisions as volunteers, as grassroots leaders, as voters, and it's making a positive change using their voice, their platform. I like that stuff. This stuff I just kind of sometimes feel hopeless to do anything about. Back to the story, Taylor says that local, municipal, state, and federal politicians are receiving bribes. Well, we know that. Okay, campaign contributions. Look, go ahead, look at the bribes. When 97, 98, 93% of all your money comes from outside the district and special interest, that's bribes. Bribes aplenty. Regarding last week's raids, Taylor said that the TBI, quote, seized evidence regarding corruption that we had locally that tied to corruption nationally, etc., took files. Cases are moving forward in other states and other areas. The guy said in the video, I did watch, I don't know if I watched all of it, but I watched part of it. And he said that the thing that really, pissed him off was that they peed in his bathtub, apparently stepped in it and walked all over his house. Now, how he determined that, I don't know. That's interesting. But you know what? A lot of times you give people a badge, you give people some authority, they just go crazy. Here's a story. Franklin man cited for displaying too many American flags. While we're going to make sure that we definitely support men in panties shaking their junk at the faces of kids, because that is definitely has to happen, right? Very positive, very good in this county. Tell you what, we're going to crack down on American flags. That's what they got to work with in Franklin. No wonder that place is always a who. Franklin man is asking the city to consider a zoning ordinance that he allegedly violated after being cited for displaying too many flags in his front yard. I thought we had private property rights. Seems like a freedom of speech issue. Dwayne Charlton currently has 7 flags that neatly line the curb of his home in Franklin, along with 2 additional flagpoles that hold 2 flags each. He has lived in his home for almost 30 years. The majority of the flags are American flags. Charlton says that he displays these flags to show his patriotism as well as his support for first responders and members of the armed forces. Well, this sounds like a crime already. In today's society, in the eyes of apparently the Franklin government, what a crime. What a crime. He received notice from city officials on August 22nd that a new zoning ordinance went into effect, limiting him to only 3 flags on display. You got to have this, right? That's a big problem. Big problem. Too many flags. After refusing to remove any of his flags, Charleston was issued a citation. The court date is set for October 3rd. Closed circuit transmission to Charlton. Brandon at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Email me. Let me know how this goes. I would love to record this court date, October 3rd. If somebody in Franklin who listens to this, Williamson County, you want to go record that so that we can broadcast it, I would love for the judge or whomever's going to be seeing this to look like an utter fool. This should be dismissed. But I'd love, if people are going to punish tax-paying citizens for expressing their First Amendment rights, I think their name needs to be dragged through the mud. I truly do. More than 70 of Charleston neighbors have already signed a petition that he started showing their support, noting the city council needs to reconsider the new ordinances. He has asked neighbors who would like to support or communicate with their alderman and to be present outside of Franklin City Hall at 7:30 on October 3rd for his scheduled court appearance. So the Williamson County conservative mafia, they hate you about as much as they hate the Sumner County constitutional conservatives because you're effective. Get a big crowd, make a big stink, as you often do. You got some ringleaders over there, and we will cover it. Why in the world would people want to get their kids out of government schools? Why might they want to do that? Why might homeschooling and private schooling be at an all-time high in Tennessee? I can't imagine why. As if the poor performance and the wasteful spending and the lack of client service and the corruption and the indoctrination weren't enough. Let's add to it. Former Tennessee teacher, coach, sentenced for recording girls in locker room. Somebody should find this guy and administer some good old country justice. A former Cleveland, Tennessee school teacher who confessed to secretly filming and photographing female students in a locker room was handed his sentence on Monday. Should be done at the end of a boot. Court records show 33-year-old Christopher Dalton Schroll pleaded guilty to 2 counts of attempted aggravated unlawful photography of a minor back in March. Schroll was initially arrested in 2022 after students discovered a spy camera planted in the girls' locker room in Cleveland Middle School. There's some good old boys in Cleveland. After investigating, police found more than 4 million images and videos. Schroll was sentenced to spend 5 months in jail. The remaining 3 years and 7 months will be served in supervised probation. I'd run this guy out of town on a rail. After his release, he is required to wear an ankle monitor for 90 days. Additionally, the judge imposed a no-contact order barring Schroll from entering the Cleveland school system, Champy's restaurant, and the Mouse Creek soccer complex. Why the hell is Champy's in there? I like Champy's chicken. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's good chicken. I ate their chicken livers. It's very good now. But why he can't go in there now is fine with me because I like Champy's. So it's good to know that if I go to Champy's, I'm not going to run into this guy. Register as a sex offender. Many parents have voiced their concern about seeing Schroll in the community, especially after the trauma their daughters experienced. Run him out. Make it to where he doesn't want to live in your town. That's what I'd suggest. Next story, Blount County PE teacher who pled guilty to offensive assault against children has a misconduct record spanning almost 20 years. I mean, we report these stories, it seems like every Big Seven. Like sometimes I don't even include them because it's like a cat got caught up in the tree, a car wreck. You know, you become numb to it after a while. But these public schools are full of predators. Now, of course, they're everywhere, I suppose. Blount County PE teacher who pled guilty to offensive assault against children is misconduct record spanning almost 20 years. On September 4th, former Blount County PE teacher and coach Joseph Dalton pled guilty to several charges of offensive touching assault stemming from 5 instances at 2 elementary schools. Dalton resigned from Blount County Schools in September 2023, shortly after an investigation began, and was arrested in January of this year when the district attorney filed charges after camera footage reviewed and Dalton was found to have offensively touched elementary-age girls. However, it appears the teacher has a record of misconduct dating back to 2005, according to police reports obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, and school resource officers, parents, students, deputies, school nurses, school counselors, and even an assistant principal have made complaints against Dalton's behavior for close to 20 years. Your kids aren't safe in these government schools. 20 years, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Can't even protect the kids from people like this? 20 years? The initial 2005 report, deputies notified DCS, but the incident had been marked as clear, meaning put to rest. Investigation also confirmed to have opened with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation in 2005, but closed in 2006 at the request of Blount County District Attorney. So whoever was in at 2006, Blount County District Attorney, great work. Great work. Maybe you need to go take all the parents out to lunch that this guy has done all the stuff to since 2006. 2019 incident was reported. God, I don't even want to read the rest of this. That's why we homeschool. Ethics Commission dismisses complaint against Tennessee Education Commissioner. The Tennessee Ethics Commission dismissed a sworn complaint against Education Commissioner Lizette Reynolds. I'm surprised she even knew where she was or what planet she was on. I've seen her work. It's not very good. After she paid back more than $2,000 in education groups, sent her to 2 conferences, and a letter to Representative Caleb Hemmer, who filed a complaint citing violations of the state law and an executive order by the governor. The commission found that though the need to address this matters is disappointing because of Reynolds' repayment of expenses, it found insufficient probable cause to proceed the matter. The commission voted 4-0 in a closed meeting. Of course, they're always closed. Ethics, they always have these closed-door ethics meetings. Sometimes they pretend like they're in ethics meetings up there in Nashville, but they're not. believe it or not. It's really just, hey, come into the room so you can be intimidated by leadership because you're doing something ethical and honest that we don't like. Hammer filed a complaint against Reynolds following the report she attended 2 out-of-state education conferences paid for by Excellent Ed, a pro-charter and pro-voucher group she worked for previously. Ethics complaints seem to be the kind of thing that should be done in public. They seem to be the kind of thing that should be done in public. And they should be done often. When you look at all the stuff, the shenanigans that went on a couple of years ago with some of the state reps and some of these interns, it's bad enough that it happens, but the thing that makes it the worst, it's when it's swept under the rug. The truth isn't out there. They cover things up, won't release documents, and then they wonder why people don't trust them. Why should they? Guys, what's going on this weekend? Well, last night I went to see Riley Gaines speak at a Hamilton County Young Republican event. It was a very amazing story. I mean, some of the crap she told me, I didn't believe. It was like my jaw dropped. With her issues with Leah Thomas and NCAA bullying her, badgering her, intimidating her to keep her mouth shut, even though she was the one that was wronged. And for what? A photo op? For the way it looks in the public eye? I mean, apparently that organization has zero integrity as far as I can see. Amazing. Apparently I need to close the window. Hold on one second. It's real professional here. Probably when you get the truth, because it's not so professional. But it was amazing. Tonight I am going to a fundraiser for my good friend Michelle Renault, and that should be good as well. If you ever get a chance and you're around Chattanooga, I would recommend going down to Greg Vital's. I'm gonna call it the wrong word, the Commons. It's interesting. It's like a mini state park. Complete down to the architecture. It was a wonderful facility. Got to see some old friends last night. What are we doing? We had to go to church Saturday night. And then I'm just behind. I missed you last week because I was in San Antonio conducting a peer group retreat because I don't make money. People always think that I earn my living doing this. I'm like, how in the world? We barely keep the lights on. It's usually not anybody that knows anything about business. It's like ideologues. You're just doing this to get rich. I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. If I was doing something to get rich, I'd go be a lobbyist up in Nashville, and I'd become a professional bootlicker for these corporations. I can make a lot of money doing that. I have the skills to do it. No, I don't. I don't think I could do it. I don't know if it's something I really cared about, maybe. But nonetheless, what are we going to do? I'm hoping maybe I can go hike the Cumberland Trail by my house this weekend, if I am lucky. If everything goes right. I got stuff piled up. You know how it is. You go out of town. And we've been to multiple events this week in the evening, which I don't really care to do. So I got stuff to do. I'm hoping I can spend some time with the kids, maybe take them down there if they want to go for a walk. Typically, Daddy likes to walk further than they care to walk. I'll just wear myself out. Keeps my mind off things. What else is going on? I can't really think of anything. Got some grass coming in. I know y'all are really excited about this, as excited as I am, probably. I went out there and rigged up a little fence so that the dog wouldn't walk in it. We have seeded and scratched up the dead grass and everything else. You know how when you build a house, they just kind of scrape all the good soil off and you're stuck with, whatever the sod leaves. So I've been slowly doctoring this yard. I'm hoping this is the year that it turns around. I'm not concerned about the outside. I like to be outside all the time. My wife takes care of the inside. I take care of the outside. That's kind of how the chore list goes. What are y'all doing this weekend? What's going on? Leave comments in the comments section. Let me know what you're doing this weekend. Let me know what you thought of these stories. Do share our stories. Post them on social media. If you know somebody who's a conservative and they don't really know what's going on in state government, forward them a link to our website. The more people we can get, the better. And finally, for those of you who love this podcast and you're like me, if I can possibly get all of my news by listening versus reading or watching, I would love that. And it breaks my heart that we do not have any more podcast news services that focus on state items in the state. Because I've asked many reporters, is there somebody else that does something similar to what I do? And the answer is no. If you know of somebody, please reach out, let me know. But the answer is no. And so I would strongly encourage you to hit the subscribe button. Leave us a review for this podcast if you listen on iTunes or Spotify or wherever, because we need your help. It helps us get found, and our platforms continue to grow. And matter of fact, I can't believe it. Google News even listed one of our stories as a top story, the one about the pickaxe attack by the illegal alien. Couldn't believe it. We're showing up under Google News now. Can you believe it? It's amazing. Like we're, I guess, 4-year overnight success. It'll be 4 years in this October. I keep saying 4 years, but we're rounding up on it. Guys, one last thing. Some of you out there that are listening to this need to run for office. You need to run for office. Start early. Make friends. If you know that you're going to do it sooner rather than later, go to the conservativecandidatesacademy.com website. That's conservativecandidatesacademy.com website. I'm telling you, there's an art and a science to running campaigns. It is not about your personal opinions, feelings, and emotions. It is a mechanical sales, marketing, and operations exercise in a compressed period of time, and winner takes all. And I'm going to be doing another live training sometime in the spring once we get past these elections for folks that are thinking about that. So keep that on your radar as well. But if you need information and guidance quickly so that you can start implementing things even in advance of that, I cannot encourage you more. It amazes me. Everybody that runs for office, I'll ask them about 10 questions that anybody who's running for office should know about the mechanics of running a campaign, and I'll be darned if they can answer 8 of them. And they wonder why they lose. It's not about kissing babies and shaking hands and going to fire halls and Optimist Club meetings and GOP meetings and Patriot meetings exclusively. I mean, those people probably represent less than 1% of the folks that turn out on election day. It's about reaching the people where they are in a very specific way, often if you're a conservative candidate with limited resources, in a way that generates lots of leverage. And that is a difficult thing to do, and it is a unique skill set, and it is something that can only be acquired by practice and knowledge. You will not intuitively see it happen. So guys, if you're thinking about running, think hard, think long about it, pray about it. And if you think that you're going to do something like that, I'm always open to help to the degree I can with the limited time I have. You can email me. It's the best way to reach me. And if I don't respond, email me again. Because sometimes I just get buried in emails, and I'm sorry if I haven't returned some of yours. It ain't because I don't love you. It's because I just don't have the time. Guys, I've rambled on long enough. It's your old buddy BL, Brandon Lewis, with the Tennessee Conservative News. Until next time, signing off. Take care.